Hello and welcome to PodFAST. Tonight, we discuss the New York Comic Con IDW panel. Today we have Chauvel.
Hello.
Garaco.
Hello.
Rick.
Hello.
And myself. Yep, we are a small group today, but that's no problem because this is going to be a slightly more compact podcast. We just wanted to do a quick little update on the current comic situation. And we have some pretty interesting news. And I think I'll let Chauvel fill us in a little bit because she was actually at New York Comic Con today.
Yes, I was. Most of the morning and afternoon, and I am tuckered out.
Well, I mean...
Most importantly, I was at this panel.
Good.
I am jealous.
Yeah. How was Comic-Con in general? Was it,
very crowded this year, even more so than last year. I felt very compact, even walking down the halls, it was very, smushed together like sardines. But it was fun. It was still an enjoyable experience. Lots of interesting cosplays, someone actually dressed up as the Javits Center. Plenty of Sonics, plenty of Rogues, too. I think I saw 4 or 5 Rogues.
Rogues? You mean okay. Rouges?
Yeah, Rouges. Sorry, I'm thinking of X-Men.
Rouge. Well, it's interesting. I was about to say, how do you dress up as Rouge? I had this idea of a mascot costume, but I guess really dressing up as Rouge just means getting up a boob tube and or a tube to whatever they're called.
It was just the white wig, bat ears,
and the white wig.
Now, what you do is that you dress in a very seductive outfit, then you just put a massive mascot head on.
I wanted to see that, but I didn't see anything like that. Maybe at a furry convention, but not here for some reason. A lot of Sonic hats, the ones that you can buy off Amazon.
Oh, like the one Darkside Phil has?
Mm.
Yeah, I got one of those.
And it was, I say it was enjoyable. Kind of fun there. I just had a really huge headache the entire time, but I lived.
Oh well, take a couple aspirins and you'll be better. So, just out of curiosity, what else did you see when you were at Comic-Con? Dubs is here.
Oh, hello.
Dubs, we're just we just started up. Chauvel is just telling us about her experience at New York Comic Con.
Cool. I want to say a lot more, but today, both days, I was just trying to relax. I didn't go to a lot of panels. I went to more panels about diversity.
Okay.
In mainstream media. And I didn't even cruise down Artist Alley, which I kind of regret. It was just that every time I went there, it was so tight. And I was like, well, I'll just come back later, and I just never did. But I went to the floor, where all the big companies show off their things and give out pins and posters and stuff like that. Cool. But I was mostly interested in just taking pictures, looking at people wearing really elaborate costumes and stuff like that.
Oh, so just people watching then?
Yeah, people watching, pretty much.
That's cool. Did you meet any particularly interesting people there? Famous people. I'm sure you met plenty of interesting,
No famous people this year. Not like I did last year, where I met, basically almost the entire Sonic Archie crew. That was last year. But this year, like I said, I was just trying to relax a little bit more.
Okay, that's cool. So I take you go every year then?
Yeah, I've been going every year since it started.
Oh gosh, when was that?
No, somewhere in the early mid-2000s, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, but on to the main point, I suppose. Sonic the Hedgehog and the IDW panel. So, I think there have been a few rundowns of it online, and I've got one in front of me right now, actually, just looking at it. But how did it go? It'd be easier for you to give me the blow by blows.
Well, I'm going to try to condense it down because there wasn't really much going on, so I don't want to ramble about nothing. First, there was the The line was really confusing because it was at first I went there really early, like a half hour early, and I thought this is the line. It's very short, and I was a little bit worried, thinking like, well, guess this is what I kind of expect from a Sonic panel. And then when they direct you to like, no, the line starts around the corner, and you go in, and there's a huge line, like this to a point where I don't think everyone's going to fit to get in. Then? Yeah, it was much more than I thought because the room from the outside looks very small. You get in and it kind of stretches all the way back.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too far back, but I was still far enough that I really couldn't see the front of the like Aaron Weber and everyone else up in the front, just the top of their heads.
Yeah.
But it was but I could hear them. They got the mics fixed early on, and I could hear them pretty clear. Plus they had a screen in the back. Just in case you can't see the screen in the front.
So how many people were there? Just guesstimate.
Estimate. All right. I'm not really good at gauging numbers, but it filled the entire room. Okay. So I'm guessing. Let's see. I don't know. Someone's gonna correct me on this, like really well. All I know is I can tell you it filled the room at least, which is a good thing because I've been to some panels where, sometimes it's half the room, a little like but this one pretty much kind of filled out all the way to the back. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I hope next time is in a larger room though, so I can they're more elevated up so I can actually see.
Yeah, it's always a help.
Yeah.
But it's good that there's seems to be a buzz about this. I think it's fair to say that everybody's pretty excited about this, and
yeah,
I think even the panel, I don't know who was on the panel exactly, but
let's see, I don't remember their names.
It's Joe Hughes, Chris Rail, Michael Cineros, Michael Cineros. Sorry, yeah, and Aaron Weber. I just wanted to say, Cineros' last name for some reason reminds me of Xenos, which is Sonic in reverse. Because if you knock out a couple of letters from it, it does become Xenos.
Yeah. I remember their titles, but I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, Sega licensing and editor and so on and so forth.
There's also Stephen Scott, who's IDW's PR manager and TLC moderator. Okay. But yeah, apparently Ryle said that he was blown away by the response from fans and how much larger it was than the Transformers or any other product. So that's a sign of encouragement right there.
I haven't been to any of the Transformers or TMNT panels, but I'm going to assume that this was probably larger.
I like the fact that Archie's been holding such a popular license, and as soon as it came up for grabs, IDW's right in.
Yeah.
I think there were so many people because I think it's because, unlike Transformers, Sonic's had a comic for about 20 plus years, so he already had a following.
Hey, don't be discounting my boys and ninjas.
Maybe they just wanted to know the fate. Everyone was just really curious.
Yeah, that's the thing, really. It's the fact that Sonic's such a high-profile franchise in both games and comics and even cartoons to an extent that Sonic really is. We sometimes forget this, but Sonic really is a pop culture icon.
Mm-hmm. As much as we make fun of the blue guy, I think he's still pretty much popular.
It's only recognizable.
There were a lot of course, adults at the panel, more than I be. But the few kids I actually saw there, they were super excited. They're talking about I can just hear them in the background, behind me or in front of me, and how when they mention a popular character name, they just get it's yeah, we want Shadow. What about Unleashed? Stuff like that. And I was like,
well,
I feel like that's me at the panel as well. If I was there.
I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
Kids being excited for it.
Yeah, actually, if I recall, following your, just to go on a side note, following your blog, don't you go to some convention and draw, or community center and draw pictures for kids? Also?
Yeah, that was the Kids Comic Con in the Bronx, And I think I did it once at New York City Comic Con too, at the Kids Comic Con at New York City Comic Con on Sunday. And so a couple of charities too, like for the Ronald McDonald House. So yeah, every time I draw there, I ask them what they want.
Oh yeah.
And I do get a lot of Sonic requests. I don't try to.
I mean, if I was doing it, I'd be just like, you're getting a Judge Dredd, and you're getting a Judge Dredd, and you're getting a Catella.
I've seen people do that. What is his name? Jamal Peppers, is it? Draws only Sonic stuff, like no matter what you ask for. And I know this, and I don't mean to rag on him because I met him more than a few times at these events, and he's a really to himself but a cool guy. But he'll draw the same Sonic character. Get for everyone.
Oh, and Yoto's on, hooray! I mean, we start off with only 4 people, and now we've grown by another 2.
I'm sorry. How long have you been going?
Oh, we've only been going for about 11 minutes. It's fine. Chauvel, I'm sorry, you sort of sidetracked here. I was just let's get down to the meat and bones. So Chauvel was actually at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it last night.
Okay, well, but I was asking Chauvel's how it was and what she got up to, and we're just sort of getting into the panel itself. So onto the panel itself. So going through it, what have we learned so far? I think the general points are, if I'm correct, we're going to have 4 issues in April, which is next
back to back too, like a week after, yeah.
Which tells us that the first arc is going to be the standard 4-issue graphic novel length.
I quite like that because wasn't Archie's arcs in about 3 issues each, or was that also?
No,
4?
Archie's was 4.
Archie did like four issue arcs for the.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for, really establishing their first.
That being said, when they first did the reboot with 152, that was like 7 issues, 8.
Yeah, that was
maybe more.
Yeah,
but that was a very long special event, to be honest. So, and also the Unleashed arc really is a gigantic, overarching story set over about a year, I'd say, or a year and a half.
Yeah, lots of crossovers. I think that kind of broke up the pace.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But that's by the by now. So we're getting 4 issues.
Have we confirmed that these are going to be like that's something I was thinking about a lot about this comic, is if they're going to be sort of standalone serials or if they're going to be some sort of overarching plot
They did
line.
not say. So stay tuned.
I want to read off the bullet points from TSSZ, since the info we got from TC is a little abridged.
Okay, fair enough.
So, first, crossovers were asked. It will be a while, maybe a year. They want to give the current series. They want to get the current series established first.
Well, Lord, I think that's a fair point.
With the spin-off comics as well, like something like Sonic Universe. I think they said something similar to that.
Yeah, because I was about to say. I mean, do they mean crossovers as in cross-brand crossovers, or like?
Well, they probably mean like
they probably meant cross-brands. Like they do that a lot. Yeah. Like I think that what they did with like Ghostbusters and.
There was
blanking out.
They did Joan Transformers,
really big crossover with TMNT and a lot of other IDW properties.
Yeah,
it's something like a lot of people are really like excited by the prospect of crossovers, but thus far to me, I haven't really been pitched a crossover that I'm like super crazy about.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I can't really. I mean, actually, that's an interesting.
Like Sonic and Mega Man kind of like have this weird mesh where I'm like. You know what? This is one of those things that, like, it doesn't... Yeah, like, it's like one of those things that doesn't really, like, one-to-one fit, but I can see how it works. But, like,
Sonic
most of IDW's...
Sonic and Mega Man can
I was about to say, I mean, I that's a good point, because I can't really think of a successful, or a really, apart from, as you said, Archie and Sonic and Mega Man, I can't really think of a successful crossover. I mean, other than perhaps, say, the obvious one, which is Sonic and Mario.
Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo.
Not Ninja Turtles.
No.
I mean, that's the thing. I can't see Sonic crossing over with, say, Transformers or G.I. Joe or Ghostbusters or Ninja Turtles. I mean,
I guess Ninja Turtles out of all of them is like the
most
easiest.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon one, not even the gritty one that they have.
Well, like, my thing about the Ninja Turtles is that Ninja Turtles sort of exist in a world where the Ninja Turtles are weird. So Sonic existing in that world would have to go with the whole, like, oh, Sonic's here, isn't that weird? I mean, technically Usagi and Jimbo kind of would fall under that same category, so, you know, I'm not 100% sure, but it's still...
I don't know, but I'll just keep going. Previous writers coming back, this was before we knew Ian was coming in, so Ian Flynn is the head writer, we know that. But
oh, yeah, I didn't know that, actually. This is the first time hearing of that.
Yeah.
Jeez, get with the know.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that when we're done.
Well, actually, one other thing is that we have semi-confirmation of one of the My Little Pony writers coming in. Because...
confirmation?
What was his name? Did they give out any names?
Oh, God. What was his name?
All the My Little Pony makers are anonymous.
Tony Fleets.
Oh, okay. I thought it was someone else. Okay.
Okay. Carry on.
Okay. Sega does impose certain restrictions on the characters, but the comics allow for the freedom to do things they can't do in the games. The primary job is to tell the best stories possible.
Which
I'm pretty glad about that.
Unlike the games, job is to tell the worst stories possible.
Well, that's kind of marketing talk, so I don't really...
Yeah, that is kind of... I mean, that's
salt.
sort of a very... a very nebulous sort of thing.
We're making a product, and we're going to make sure it's not terrible.
I think what they mean by this this point is how, just like Archie, they do have certain mandates in place, but I think, unlike Archie, they don't have as many, because obviously their IDW has a good track record, and also they
don't have penders.
I think the other thing is that as, towards the end, Archie were loosening up. So with Mega Drive, we saw Classic Eggman, which I think was a thing which wasn't allowed beforehand.
Yeah, they had
I think Sega are loosening the leash a little bit, and now that they've got a new company and therefore less, legal baggage, they feel a bit freer.
Oh, sorry about the motorcycle. Like, I have the windows closed, so...
No, it's okay. Do you want me to carry on going through the list, Tubbs?
Me?
I got to the article right here, so...
Well, I mean, why you? Why can't it just be me? Why are you the centerpiece? All right, you can.
No. Okay, if it's that.
No. You're the host.
Why don't we take turns?
You do it.
Well, actually, we'll be communists now. We'll take turns. Okay. Freedom fight. The Freedom Fighters returning. Stay tuned. There were the demand though. So that's really the biggest non-announcement they have for this whole thing. Is that?
I'm telling you, this is how they're going to do it. They're just going to drip in as individual characters, where they're not going to be at the offset.
I think there'll be a big reveal of them all at once, because having just one drip in sort of gives the game away. It's like, unless,
That's, not really, because when you think back to how Archie treated them, it's like, a lot of them had, give them to do syndrome, but it's kind of like how they since they were all one central group, they didn't really... they were all connected to one another, so whenever they did something, they all had to be involved somehow, and it always felt kind of forced. So,
well, I still would say that that's possible. It's just that when you're doing your first reveal of these beloved, really beloved characters, you don't really want to just have, oh, here's Sally, and then everybody else is like, where's Rota, where's Anton, where's Bunny? It would be, from a storytelling perspective, you can easily see like Sonic coming against a really big, tough enemy, like the finale of a long ongoing arc or storyline, and then the final, or the final arc, you see all the freedom fighters return, and then after that they'll be sort of, they'll go their own way towards the end, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay,
I really wouldn't be surprised.
It's weird. I can see both working. I mean, yeah, yours is more likely than not that they're going to introduce them all at the same time. But I'm not opposed to the idea of introducing them one by one.
I feel if they do it one by one, they would have to do it very quickly. Otherwise, fans would probably get very impatient. Just like, come on, where's my ultimate freedom fighter waifu, Bunny Rabbit? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, though, I really wouldn't be surprised if IDW did it as like a sideline, because they've done this a lot with the Ninja Turtles, right? Where they'll have like a main book and then they'll do side books that sort of add in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have like an ongoing Sonic title and then we have, say, 4-issue minis every 6 months. They just dip into that kind of thing.
That's different, though. They don't do that by default. The only reason they did that with TMNT is because TMNT is stupidly popular. And it sells stupidly well.
And they've just admitted that Sonic is...
And Sonic isn't.
But what they do with the Ninja Turtles is they do a series called the Micro Series, which is basically one-off issues that focus on certain characters that are sort of independent from the main continuity, but sometimes tie in. So I could easily see them doing like a Sonic line and then having like a Freedom Fighters Micro Series.
Yeah, I just started reading again. I just started reading again the TMNT stories and the Micro Series, which are all really very good.
Yeah, I mean,
one thing
I'd love to see them do that with.
As I said, I really am quite excited at the prospect of us getting, say, something based off, some of the, the side franchises, like, say, Underground, Satam. I mean, hey, we could get a season 3 of Satam.
If IDW's track record with Ninja Turtles is anything to go by, it's really likely, because at the minute we've had like a Bebop and Rocksteady have had their own title. We have a whole sideline of them in Dimension X featuring a bunch of planets and ties into like other versions of TMNT that we haven't seen in years. Like, they're doing fan service to the max. Same with the Ghostbusters, right? They're doing really well.
I don't want to see a season 3.
I don't know, but hey, that's the great thing. It'll be a side comic, so you don't have to get it. That's the beauty of it.
I am loving the idea of multiple books.
If you think about it, that's what Sonic Universe 50 was supposed to be at first. I mean, nobody wanted an ending to Sonic Underground. Like, who cares?
I just wanted to say how, I'm kind of disappointed how the big penultimate question of this panel was kind of like, are the Freedom Fighters coming back? Because it's a question that everyone's kind of concerned about for those who actually support them.
And it's a question they have asked 5 different times.
Yeah,
to be fair,
they kind of just know.
Like, if the answer was no, then no, right?
I think the Freedom Fighters are basically a catch-all term for characters that can be developed that we already know very well. So they can introduce OCs, but we have to warm up to them first. We already know the Freedom Fighters. We've already been attached to them as characters, and we know they can be developed in ways that the Sega characters can't. So I think that's the real question that people are asking. I don't know. I guess it's just more they want... I don't know where I'm going with this.
Basically, I think what you're trying to say is that they're asking... what they're asking is that can they have characters that we've already seen from the Archie series, like the Archie.
Yeah, I think it's basically a catch-all term for can we see previous Archie characters returning?
Yes,
within reason, obviously.
And if the answer isn't no, then it's not no. Like, maybe it's as good as yes at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're just keeping their options open here.
Whenever they say stay tuned, you know the answer's yes. I mean, come on.
I mean, I feel I don't want to get our hopes up. I feel like sometimes stay tuned just means we're not sure.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Stay tuned. They mean like we are also staying tuned. We want to know.
Well, okay. I think what it really is it's on the table. We're thinking about it. But if we don't, there's a damn good reason we're not going.
Yeah. And it's IDW, right? So the chances are they're going to have this license for a long time. And in a long time, they're going to do a lot of stuff with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also,
like I was going to say, like the thing about like stuff like this is like, as fans, you got to we kind of look at it objectively. But like, as a series, it's like, like even if they wanted to use the Freedom Fighters, there's a lot of things that might be standing in the way of being able to do that. Like, legal things and blah, blah, blah. So it might not have much to do with, like, what they want or anything. Yeah, which is why it might be a very hard question for them to answer, because it's like...
Exactly.
The thing that's really interesting is IDW, when they pick up other licenses, have sometimes continued the numbering system. So I know they've announced, like, the new Sonic series starts with a new issue number 1 and stuff, but they probably won't, but they could always, 20 issues down the line, revert back to legacy numbering. Or what might happen is if it takes them that long to get the license rights back from Archie, they could end up doing like a sideline that ties off the Archie universe into issue 300 and then shunts the FF into the main book. Like, they could do anything at this point. We have no idea.
That's something I'm wondering is like how much of, the Sonic stuff does Archie own, and maybe how much of it would Archie be willing to part with?
Yeah, that's what I'm
sure me
too.
And everyone else is thinking, will it be possible to get the ending of Sonic, the 300 comic, and what was it, 300? I can't remember.
No, I didn't get 300. I think
it was like 200. What number was it?
Well, we're getting to 300, so I think that's about right, really.
Chances are at this point as well, if Sega's basically just yoinked the license from Archie, IDW may just be like, hey, we'll give you something for what you have, because you're never going to be able to use it again, but we will give you some money or some rights or something for what you have left, and Archie will just go, yeah, okay, like, and we will get like a tie-up issue or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yes.
There's no way we are not getting Mega Drive 3. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we are definitely getting Mega Drive 3.
But is that, I was going to say, like, is that factual, or is that,
That's me. I know for a fact we're going to get it. You can you can take that to the bank.
I just wanted to say that I really wanted to see a mini-series of Captain Rescue. That's going way back, but everybody just kept carrying on.
Bring him back, like, in a different form.
Just a micro-series, because, that would be just kind of fun to see, a bit like how the Simpsons used to do Radioactive Man comics.
With the amount of references IDW have dropped into old Ninja Turtle stuff, I would not be surprised if you see characters like from obscure stuff like that coming back into like the main book at some point somehow.
Not even the main book, but just like I could just imagine like a one-off comic of him, like the Adventures.
Which kind of I was going to say that it is kind of interesting for me as someone who kind of never really cared much for the Freedom Fighters, because I feel really bad for people who might never see them again. But on the other hand, I'm sort of this opinion where I'm like, I don't really need the Freedom Fighters back.
Yeah, I mean,
after a bunch of us lost the English Freedom Fighters in Fleetway, so this is the second time I'll be going through losing a crew. It kind of numbs the pain after the first time round, right? R.I.P. Johnny Lightfoot.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we might see the Freedom Fighters. Anyway, let's get back to the list.
Yeah, well, we've already covered the comics will start completely fresh with issue number 1. We're specifically making this world built in a world IDW controls separate from the games. Aaron is at the event. He added more to say. There might be the occasional tie-in with a game, but stay tuned. So
that's really what we've just been discussing about before with, like,
what this might mean, though, is instead of getting sort of the storyline of the main book ties into a game every now and then, they, like, like we had with, like, the All-Stars Race and Transform backup stories in Archie and stuff, they may just do those as separate tie-in mini-comics that run for, like, 2-3 issues and then not put them in the main book,
Does someone else want to read a bullet point?
I wanted to mention how, like, this bullet point is kind of interesting because they say that it's a world that IDW themselves control that are separate from the games. Yeah. And I'm wondering how much of that means that, we're going to stray away from this Izuka two worlds sort of deal.
Well, I mean, that will be interesting to see because it really depends on what Sega has to say, because obviously they're their license holder.
I think it's kind of interesting, like the whole Izuka Two Worlds kind of deal, because it's like, people bring up as like a thing, but it's not like the games or anything ever like.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
I mean,
like it's one of those things that I feel like
it's
he
just
just
honestly,
in an interview because people were hassling him.
as a throwaway line he just gave in one.
Yeah, that's literally what I was just saying. You interrupted me to say what I was.
Well, that's the thing. Hang on. Sorry, I did that because I was just getting irritated every time I said something. You just carried on talking, and
I'm sorry.
I wanted to try it out myself for once, see if it worked.
But yes, I agree. It sounds like something that he just said because like a bunch of like 14-year-olds kept asking him like, "But Sonic's in this world here," and he was like, "Okay, yeah, there's just two worlds." Like I'm sure he put like no actual like
effort.
What I gathered from these bullet points is that what I said earlier was Sega does impose certain restrictions on the characters, but other than the characters having certain restrictions, like, okay, Sonic can't cry, we know that.
Well, we don't know.
It's stupid, but
that's so weird to me as like a thing. Like Sonic can't cry; he's too macho.
Well, he's also a company mascot, so you know.
I think that was valid.
I think the actual restriction was he can't show an extreme emotion like crying. Like he can tear up, but he can't just be like a complete sobbing
drama
mess.
Queen.
Yeah,
I can't wait to play through
again,
the Sonic.
I think it's a case of we'll wait and see what happens. But
what I was trying to say was that the characters have restrictions, but maybe the world and the stories don't.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Anyway.
I'm hoping it does kind of go like that, because I think Sonic's a really interesting concept, and a lot of what will make it interesting is the world. I mean, I've spoken a lot about how the OVA is sort of like my definitive Sonic thing, and one of the things that makes it so entertaining is the world.
Yeah. If anything, I'm hoping it comes out like the Ghostbusters stuff, where they take like every aspect of the continuity between the cartoons and the games and all the other books, and they smash it all into one existing thing.
Yeah, that would be
like really the current Ghostbusters run basically has the Extreme Ghostbusters coexisting with the main guys, coexisting with the new movie, and they all tie in like one cohesive universe.
Wow, do they the Filmation Ghostbusters? I was about to ask.
They are referenced, yes, but they have all these crazy tie-ins, right? Like they have like a whole run of interns. Even if you've played the Ghostbusters game, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2006, where you're classed as the rookie. Yeah. Where you're classed as the rookie player. They even reference the rookie. You never see them, and they never like specifically mention whether it's a guy or a girl, but they always mention the rookie is out of town. Like they even tie that stuff in.
Yeah, okay. But we need to. Sorry, I'm just trying to focus in on Sonic here.
Next bullet point,
yes.
Who's going to read that one out?
Oh, anyone. Not
they made nobody wants to be that guy. Okay, I'll do it.
I'll do it. They made a big deal about the comics being a fresh start with characters, and they're telling brand new stories. It was their answer to pretty much 90% of the questions.
So, what this tells me is that they're not starting off with an adaptation of Sonic 1.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to see that again.
To be honest, we know the story anyway. I think
Green Hill again.
Batman's and Spider-Man's origin story. We don't need to hear it for the upteenth time.
Well, you see, that's like something that's kind of a complaint I have, and this is a little bit off topic, but most people don't need to hear it again for the upteenth time, but like everyone has to hear it for the first time at some point. Like,
they can just do what Marvel Spidey did, where they get a one-issue tie-in. Like, there's a one-page tie-in in the front of every Spidey book now that basically recaps the origin in, like, 3 panels.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, people, talk about the, what's it called, movies. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Yeah. And, like, I don't think people think about it in this context, but the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies is why I know who Spider-Man is. Like, if it wasn't for those movies. And, like, no one would ever think that, but I'm like... Think about, like, people are, like, complaining about Batman versus Superman, like, oh, why do we have to see Batman's origin? Everyone knows it. I'm like, some kid is watching that for the first time who has no idea who Batman is or why he's Batman.
That's the thing, though. We don't really have an origin for Sonic, do we?
No, really? Sonic doesn't really matter. I'm just using this
origin.
This is more of a direct response to
we need to stop talking over everybody.
Guys. But I think this bullet point, I think it's not only saying that obviously we're telling brand new stories and all that. I think it's also them keeping the options open so that they aren't they don't feel required to basically drag up old storylines from, say, the Archie series, if that's, again, something which they're concerned
Yeah,
about.
like it can be like its own like standalone sort of thing that's not really paying homage to anything.
They need a
Even
clean
the
break
Archie-
for the PR.
Yeah,
I
because
feel
even
like-
the Archie stuff was very much based off of the Sonic cartoons of that time period. Like,
I also feel like this is like a neutral response to pretty much all the questions of, oh, are we going to be seeing this? Are we going to be seeing that? And they will always say this response of, well, it's a whole new world with characters old and new, yada yada, saying the same thing to like all those questions of, oh, maybe we will see Mighty. Are we going to be seeing locations from the games? And
Please stop asking about your waifus. We're trying to launch a book here.
I'm
We'll
sorry,
get to
I'm
it.
sorry.
We promise.
I will say that I do wish we'd see like a proper origin story for Sonic. Like we don't need to see Sonic
I
being
don't-
born like Sonic Underground, but
I don't
do
really
thi-
need an origin story
I
for
don't
Sonic.
think
Yeah.
we need an origin story.
Fleetway's explosion is the 1-2 canon.
Yeah, well, honestly, the point is that Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't need an origin story because he's just a character who is who he is.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine them making an origin story for Sonic that won't feel cringy and out of place.
I know.
Exactly. I mean, it would have to be, because otherwise it would just be like, Eggman murdered his parents or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like that.
25 years is a bit late to be introducing an origin story, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
and
the-
also
you
tell
say
you about Zelda.
Like, I even have, like, I've thought about this in length about, like, what I would say Sonic's origin is, and even an idea that I came up with myself, I hate it.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing to remember, and this is probably why they are generally so gun shy about giving the characters more depth and more history or any sort of development, so to speak, is because Sega can at any moment just come around and say that actually this is how it happened with Sonic, or this is why Sonic's got his shoes, or this
That's
is why
true.
why Amy.
Oh,
is
I
like this.
misremembered my entire childhood. I forgot I had a brother.
Exactly. Yeah. Next
Man,
bullet point.
it's like it's been, like, 10 games, and suddenly I have a brother, Sonic the Hedgehog.
John Hedgehog, who was Sonic the Hedgehog's brother, was one day in an office typing on a computer.
Oh, look, Infinite was my long-lost brother. Blonic.
But anyway, next.
I'm Infinite the Hedgehog, brother.
Brother,
Sonic fights
I'm
Infinite
hit.
on-
Anyway,
someone
the-
talks to Infinite they fight on top of a Metal Gear. Brother.
Anyway,
Jeff.
modern Sonic will be the focus of this comic, so there won't be multiple versions of Sonic running around, including classic Sonic.
Thank God.
Well,
So is that just their way of
Classic
saying there's not going to be a Forces tie-in just yet, then?
Yeah.
well,
that's what it was
that was actually a question, I think, later on. But basically, this doesn't really tell you anything other than we're going to have one Sonic for the main series, and we may have other Sonics for like any side comics we do.
I mean, we're not going to see Sonic and like all the other multiverse versions of Sonic, like in the Archie comic.
No, we're not. Well, we don't know, but main Sonic. He is the focus. I suppose that's the wording there. But again, this is in a retrospective, so that is just the retrospective.
This does mean more than just the comics, though, because this shows that that classics like hopefully isn't going to be a recurring character in the mainline games,
Yeah, that's a good
because
point,
that's something
actually.
I fear.
I feel like he's already overstayed his welcome, if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, if Sonic Mania continues to be a series, then I don't know.
I mean, I'm fine with him in Mania. He just needs to not show up in everything else.
Plus, why would IDW put him in the main book when they can give him his own side title and run 2 books simultaneously?
Exactly, as I said.
And then end him on a cliffhanger and never release a third one because they've gone out of license.
Yeah, and suddenly
Anyway.
Dark Horse Comics owns Sonic.
Oh yeah, I'll get my Usagi crossover if Dark Horse own it. I'm up for
Oh,
that.
and Spawn, if he's part of Dark Souls, right?
Yes.
Spawn will be canon. Anyway, Sega's restrictions are not that high. They just want to make sure that they do things properly without jumping the shark, which is...
That's what they said last time.
Yeah, well...
I don't think their restrictions for Archie were actually all that demanding.
Yeah, they're just like, here's a guide, don't do this.
Yeah.
You can bend a few rules, and that was it.
Wait, what would
Like,
jumping the shark
'cause-
be classed as in Sonic? I mean,
No,
you've got a
jumping
super
a shark.
hedgehog that references his own franchise. Like,
But I mean, think back to their restrictions on what Sonic Boom could do. They were insane. Tails is the only mechanic that can exist. Like, what?
That's just
Yeah, but
rules.
that's Sonic Boom, not Sonic the main series. I mean, this is
Well, it says a lot about what they can do with original characters, though.
was that for the cartoon or for the Archie adaptation?
It was for Boom the game. And
well,
the cartoon.
again, that's the game though. That's the if you're doing if you're making a sub franchise, you want to have things be absolutely focused on doing certain things. I mean, that's the point. Otherwise, you're just sort of going to have like brand dissonance.
Like
but
you think that let me put it like this: you know that about those restrictions, and so you're like, that's crazy. There's a lot of stupid restrictions in fiction that you just don't know about because you never think about it.
I know
how Batman and Robin have to always have black hair and blue eyes and look like weird clones of each other.
Well,
look at every Robin. They're all black-haired, blue-eyed weirdos. It's weird.
I will say that Ian Flynn posted Sonic mandates on his own old forum in like 2014, and I can't remember what they were, and I can't find the link that shows what they were, but all I can say is that they looked insane.
I mean,
again,
art is insane.
Well, IDW has a good track record with 25 to 30-year-old properties, and they've done quite well, so I imagine Sega are going to go a little bit more lenient on them.
I just think the idea that the characters can't have character development is I don't know if I can say this on the stream, but retarded.
What was
that noise?
That noise was
wow, you offended the room itself.
That was like an ominous thunder strike when when a villain just appears and just the evil laughs like. Except it was like.
No. I mean, you can say that, but no. I mean, here's the thing though, Dubs. Say I think in Sega's defense, Sonic is their property at the end of the day, and this is about brand synergy and sort of and brand unity. If there was a comic where Mario was going around shooting people with a gun and I don't know, taking a dump down people's chimneys, then Nintendo would be absolutely mad at them.
Well, you can restrict that kind of stuff without saying, okay, they will never grow, they will never learn anything from their adventures, they will never change as characters, they will never go through any hardships, they will never have any drama.
I think as you said, you can't actually remember the entire wording, so
and I'm probably
reading those issues
people out there who are really happy about the Band-Aids.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me put it like this: Sonic is, obviously
blue hedgehog that runs really fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's basically Sega's Mickey Mouse. He has to have sort of a lot of control over him, because otherwise he kind of becomes really weird and cringy. Just think about how much people are still laughing at Shadow the Hedgehog. It's like, oh man, look at Sonic with a gun. And it's
and also let's not forget things like Sonic Underground and Sonic Adventure, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic SatAM.
Right, but
I'm just saying, imagine a comic where someone close to Sonic dies, and you just have some grimdark panel where Sonic holding them in his arm crying. Imagine that not making people laugh.
Well, I can understand Sonic not being able to cry. What I can't understand is Sonic not feeling anything at all other than
he's not a robot.
It's not
seriously,
anything at all.
I think you're not actually. I think you're not actually reading the comics, man.
Sorry.
It's
all right, I'm gonna get out of here.
Sorry.
All right, Yoto, see you later.
Okay, see you later.
Wasn't the mandate just that he couldn't suffer any permanent loss?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could see it, but
all I can imagine now, after you said Sonic's not allowed to feel anything except I can just imagine Tails going to say Sonic, what's wrong? I can't feel any emotion, Tails. My parents just died. All I can feel is whoa, hey, I gotta go fast.
Tails walks up to Sonic. Sonic, I'm pregnant. Oh yeah,
this is
Bunny
happening. Whip is cool, but
PTSD.
And back to the issue. Back to the panel. Right.
Sonic the
IDW's
comic is deconfirmed.
Thoughts of Sonic the comic. New Sonic comic, new and exciting. So basically, sorry, Rick and Garaco, we're not getting Sonic the comic.
Wait, did they actually address the Fleetway book in that panel?
Yes, they did.
Oh, my boy! Whoever mentioned that, good job.
I don't think it's deconfirmed it. I think it's sort of in a similar state to the Archie series, where it's just like, well, for now we're trying to establish something new. We might take inspiration from there, later down the line.
It's basically,
I know
a lot of this panel is basically, we don't know yet. We don't want to say no, but we don't want to say yes because we can't keep the promise.
I remember Ian did mention at one point that he spoke to the guys behind STC and asked them if he could use some stuff, and they said yes. But it turns out that Fleetway, the guys that still own the license, with like, no, you can't do it. Or so there was a thing between either Archie or Fleetway where they were like, we can't actually do it, even though the guys that created it said, like, I would love for you to use my guys. You can have them if you want to use them. Ian was like, okay. And then when he actually asked the higher ups, they were like, no, you can't do it, which was a shame. But it shows that somebody out there still cares about that license.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's. As I said, lots of sort of we aren't sure yet what's going on here. The next next bullet point. Aaron says that. Sorry, who's that?
That's Yoto.
Sorry, it's me.
Okay.
Just unmute your mic.
Hello, Yoto again.
I thought he left.
Yeah, I thought he left actually.
Yeah.
I did.
Anyway, Aaron says that things happened on why the Archie era story arc suddenly stopped the way it did. But he says that sometimes these kind of things happen. There are reasons. Trust us. I wish we could go into more detail. It's tough for us too. So, yeah.
May I address
we still don't
why
really know why
he answered it that way? I mean, of course, he couldn't say more than that. But I don't know how to address this. If someone really awkward, let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
Asked that question. He was. It was. I don't know what the PC term to put this, but you could tell he's very awkward, very off, but not in a bad way. And Aaron was trying to, sympathize and answer it the best way he can. This guy, to me, seemed kind of emotional. So that's what I'm saying.
I really like Aaron for this reason of he's just as big of a Sonic fan as all of us and all those people at the panel. So when he says that, you can genuinely tell that he really wanted the Archie series to continue, but he also feels kind of hurt by the cancellation and all that stuff happening, and he would happily tell us if he was allowed to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am very curious as to why this breakup happened, but again, I think we'll see probably several years from now in the future.
Yeah.
Will IDW have its own Sonic universe? We're taking nothing off the table, but we're focusing on the brand new series right now. So I think what they're saying is that for the first year, or even, maybe first few months, there'll just be a single comic for the time being, just to see how popular it is. Because even if there's a lot of hype around this, it may not sell as well as IDW thinks. So obviously they want to test the waters, I think, there.
That is a very interesting wording, though. Especially saying that we are focusing on the brand new series right now, implying that there is something older coming back.
Well,
yeah.
I mean...
No, not really. It's more like, listen, we're just starting this. We don't want to, count our eggs before they hatch. So let's just focus on this one issue series, and then we can branch it off until different spin-off series or micro series and stuff like that. But it's just too early to tell.
Yeah,
let's start with main issue, and then go from there. And a year down the line, we'll see what we're going to do.
Yeah, like Sonic, they must walk before they run.
It's interesting, though, right? Because when you say Sonic Universe, either you specifically mean universe, like the title that it was, or a universe type parallel to what they would have, as like a spin-off series. So I get that they wouldn't be like, hey, we're doing a book, and by the way, we're doing another one that's going to be a side book right after, because they don't want to, pollute the brand already, because they're already doing 4 issues within a month, which is crazy, but a great way to kickstart the new year. But it does seem like they basically know they're doing another series at some point, which I think is I'm hyped for that, but I know they won't announce it now.
I think that's kind of obvious. I think it's a given. I think the only reason why they're being gun shy is that, as I said, they're not 100% certain that Sonic will sell as well as they want to, and they want to see how many sort of side comics they should sort of be planning for.
Yeah, the main thing in that instance is going to be what their projected sales are. Because, I mean, they have Archie's history of sales to look at and determine, well, if Archie were getting such a number, we should be getting round about such a number. So it all depends on, whether they think it's going to make a worthwhile addition to their stable for whatever they're either paying for the license or whatever their deal is with Sega in order to have that license. But I imagine it's got to do well for them. I mean, they're doing a really strong push, and hopefully it really pays off.
I hope so too, and I think I'll certainly buy the first few issues just to see how it goes along, just to support the comic. They may create original characters. Again, that's pretty much obvious, I'd say. How many of you would want to see a Sonic Forces comic? Crowd cheers. Good to know. We'll pass it on. How big was that cheer, Chauvel?
That cheer it was okay. You got larger cheers, like if you're gonna have original characters will be annoying more than what you want Sonic Forces. And it was like, yay, the average cheer you hear in a crowd of that people. But I wouldn't say it was really loud or anything.
I mean, do you think we'll get a Sonic? I mean,
Sonic Forces tie-in, probably.
Yeah. But it would be a bit late. I mean, unless they were to do it.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah, but when will we get in the Archie Unleashed adaptation? That was years past, right?
I mean, I know that. That's a fair point. But I mean, if Sega was smart, they would have a Sonic Forces comic out sort of nowish, and maybe they would get IDW to do it, or maybe they get somebody else. But that's kind of I don't think they would have. They probably wouldn't be able to make it a relevant time. But if that's the case, then they'll have to probably do it a few years down the line. We'll have to see.
It is interesting, though, right? Because they're asking people if they want to see a tie-in to a storyline they don't really know yet. But a lot of the times when they do something like that, what they end up doing is whoever adapts it later fixes all the problems the fans had with it. So if they do a Forces adaptation, I'd kind of like to see it right, after the game. Not like right after or during, but, a little bit after, so they've had time to tie in and fix some of the stuff that probably people complain about.
But where was our 06 adaptation?
It totally existed, you just missed it.
Yeah, well, maybe not. We'll see. There was a question about backstory and the characters in Sonic Forces. Aaron's answer, wait and see. Well, duh. Who asked that question?
Jeez, so many people had the same question.
Yeah, I mean it's like so many people just ask questions which are the same sort of. What do you think they're going to say? Like, I don't know, is Sonic gay or something? Like, I don't know, ask him.
Did they actually
ask that? The funny thing is that when they... Oh, hold on. The funny thing is, when they asked, the first question was, will there be Archie characters, whatever, from the comic be transferred to IDW? The whole wait and see. And I forgot who it was. Was it Weber or someone else? They asked, does anyone else on the line for the question has the same question? And, almost everybody lifted their hands.
Wow.
They didn't leave. I was like, once someone answered that, I would have just oh, well, I guess they answered my question. I would have sat back down.
Well, you could just think of a different question.
To ask the same question.
They just needed to have a paddle saying, Ian isn't here right now. And just every time someone asks a question, be like, look, man, the main writer isn't here. We can give you some details, but we're not going to tell you super specific stuff.
Yeah, but even if the main writer was there, he probably wouldn't. Ian probably.
No, he'd stand in the corner, knowing, smiling at everything.
Yeah. Just a creepy smile in the corner,
sitting there doing the Gendo hand, just sitting behind them, looking at everybody.
Here's an interesting one. Open to audience reaction. How would original IDW characters factor into the story's tons of support for annoying sidekicks? What was that? Can you explain that, Chauvel?
They said, oh, sure. They asked, will you have original characters, and what would their personalities be like? Would they be just as important as the hero? Would they be side characters, or will they be annoying characters like Charmy the Bee? They did a little jokey poll saying, how many of you guys want a main original character? And then how many of you guys want...
You look like you have something to say.
They did make a
Hi, I'm a talking sword.
They did make a Poochie joke, by the way. Last thing they asked was, do you want the character to be annoying? And everyone had a big roaring applause. And I think it was Weber or someone said, oh, you guys are just being trolls.
Yeah, I think they were.
No, they want to. No, what we want is a comic which is totally grounded but off the wall and wacky at the same time.
We want annoying sidekicks but no forces adaptation.
We want a comic that stars Charmy D and Biggs the Cat, and only those two characters.
Can you guys just make Teen Titans Go the comic with Sonic characters, please?
What, I mean Sonic Boom? Anyway. Creative process for the comic. Ian has an incredible imagination. He could write these comics forever.
Well, they just said he's the head writer, right? So presumably he's at some point going to have people working under him. And then again, if we get spin-offs or minis or tie-ins, they'll be handled by other people. Because, I mean, even for Archie, Ian didn't handle all of the writing.
Sorry.
Kind of like Spark of Life and, what was the other one? Spark of Life and... Silver Age. They're written by completely different people, but
Well, I'm not saying that Ian writes. I'm not saying Ian writes all the Archie stuff, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of sort of getting tired of his shtick, I guess. But apparently, Ian had his pitches ready for IDW immediately, so that's good to see. He's always thinking of stuff.
Just cross out Archie, write IDW on the portfolio, send it back in.
I want to see how he does under the new editor, because the editor is always a deciding factor in how well a writer performs.
The funny thing is, at this point, he could just walk in and be like, dude, I've been doing this for like 10 years, just give me a year. If you don't like it, then we'll have a fight. And the guy's probably like, well, okay, yeah. Because isn't this one of his first books that he's been editing on?
Well, we'll see.
I know he's done some stuff for, I think it was Image.
Yeah, who's the editor? It's
Joe Hughes. He worked, I believe, on The Unwritten.
I haven't read that.
I didn't read that either.
More like the unread.
There's some good stuff. Yeah.
Wait, Unwritten, wasn't that the story about the writer who wrote stories and he was transferred into his own book?
Yeah, I think so. I've only read like the first, I think, year of it.
So I did read that. Never mind.
Back to the topic though. Apparently, Ian, we can use anything from the games. Duh.
Well, not really duh, because if you think about it, they couldn't use Dr. Nega, and they couldn't use anything from 06, and they couldn't use anything from Sonic Chronicles.
Or Blaze, who's apparently not in the games anymore.
Well, actually, they bring a good point now, because Ken Penders was brought up, apparently, and...
which they said, I think you already know the answer to that one.
I don't know who that is.
Yes.
I love the answer.
Who's Ken Penders?
I don't know who that is. Some nobody.
Yeah, but actually, but going back to Sonic Chronicles, if they can use that, I mean, does that mean that the issue with Penders has been resolved?
I would say no, because they're inevitably going to sue him for that graphic novel eventually.
How much of what happened in Chronicles is owned by BioWare, though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the deal with what's his face Chronicles is sorted yet, because the game itself ended on a cliffhanger, and B, we don't actually know what the full legality situation is.
Excuse me, the end of Chronicles was where Eggman's taken over the planet. It's the prequel to Forces.
I was going to say that Chronicles is always kind of like one of those weird Sonic games where it's like, I'm not sure if Sega's trying to erase that from existence or not.
Yeah,
I read something about Chronicles being confirmed for being okay.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, like everything else. And I think that's bad.
Even if it was legally okay, they wouldn't probably touch it now just because of the stigma.
Yeah, and Ken Penders.
Yeah.
But
the game wasn't really well received when it came out anyway.
Well, I think some people were kind of interested to see what happened next, especially with all the echidnas.
I like the ending.
Yeah. I mean, nobody really liked Chip either, but Chip was used in the Unleashed adaptation, and it was done very well. I prefer to see bad characters be salvaged and turned into good ones than just telling them to, screw off. We don't want to look at you anymore.
Yeah. See,
I don't think that's very productive.
I thought Chip was unpopular, but I've seen like a really big fan base from online. I was
that's a weird thing.
I've never liked Chip.
I've never sort of got. I've never sort of like got a vibe of hatred for Chip, to be honest. Like
Chip was like the kind of character that you would think that people wouldn't like, but in reality, I don't think I've seen anyone with any strong negative feelings towards him.
The Black Arms, that's another one.
I honestly think it's just sort of like, you know, IGN type crowd reviewers who really don't like Chip because, oh, he's an annoying kiddie character sort of thing. Oh, he's an annoying friend of Sonic's.
Also, he has a terrible voice, but okay.
It was the voice that
in the Sonic the Hedgehog game, everyone has a terrible voice.
Yeah.
True.
But
his just particularly annoyed me. It really got me.
I don't think it's annoying, but you know.
Chip had one of those voices where it was way deeper than you really think it should be.
He sounded like Scrappy Doo. It had to be intentional.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Just less annoying.
But I think that's everything from the panel, really, unless there's anything else we missed out, Chauvel.
No, that was basically it. Like I said, as far as panels go, the questions I've heard worse Q&As, to be quite honest. So this wasn't bad, just a little repetitive.
Yeah, but I think basically the main answer we've got from this whole Q&A is wait and see, which is pretty much what we've already known. The new things which we have gotten from this are A, that Ian Flynn will be writing, B, we're getting 4 series in April, 4 comics in April, C, we're not getting any sort of spin-off series right off the bat, we're probably going to be sort of, you know, just having a main series at the start. But you know, we've learned a few things at least, and it's always quite interesting. Did you have a question for the panel, Chauvel?
Me?
Or had one in mind?
I did have one in mind, but the time I saw everyone going up, I was like, no way they're going to get to me in time.
But
so I was going to speak to them afterwards, but I had such a huge headache, I just had to go home.
But what did you want to ask them, out of curiosity?
I was going to just, because I'm always interested in the progress of the writing and the planning stages. I wasn't going to ask them specifically what they were going to write. I was going to ask them, how do you guys plan out the first, like, do you go back and forth through, you ping pong ideas? Does Ian write an outline and you guys just go with it? Like, I just want to know the process of how it works. Or do you have a big board in the office room where it's connected with a bunch of pictures and yarn, you know what I mean? So I was just curious about how the process works, especially in comics. That's what I like to hear.
We should get Ian in and have him break that down a bit, because there's a lot of questions I'd like to know about that as well.
I have to say, part of me is very curious to see what kind of direction the comics go in general. Like, do you think it's too early to try to start speculating?
Yeah, I think it's way too early.
I'm surprised nobody asked anything about the tone.
Yeah, that's sort of what Yoto was.
Yeah, like, I'm wondering, like, is it going to be like a serialized, like, you know, Monster of the Week kind of, you know, romp, or are they going to try to be more, like, serious, or some sort of combination of the two?
I imagine, I'm going to just take a guess right here. I'm going to guess it's going to be a combination of the two for the main book. I think they will try and strike a balance between light-hearted comedy, but also they'll have ongoing storylines occurring, which is pretty much like a lot of modern cartoons today on television, like, you know, Gravity Falls, I guess, which have ongoing, you know, plot lines, overarching plot lines.
One question I would have liked to have had asked is, will there be any merchandise? Because IDW have been pretty good and on point so far about making merchandise for stuff that's licensed. Like, they put out, like, they made a new Power Ranger series, and they had original characters in that, and they got statues and figures and stuff. So I'd be curious to see if they do anything like that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see again. Wait and see.
Something I was just thinking of, and this is kind of, like, sad to say about, like, the Freedom Fighters, but I will say, if they don't include the Freedom Fighters, one positive I can think about is that the story will no longer be held down by the concept of them being like an action hero team. Like, you can get a lot more of the freedom that Sonic sort of represents.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm sort of wondering, is that will Sonic be more of I won't say lone wolf, but more of a, you know, just wandering the planet with Tails type, or will he be going to home base? Again, it's
something I've always thought about, like...
Sorry?
I'm sorry, it's something I've always thought about how Sonic should, like, be portrayed, is that he's just a guy who's just sort of around, adventuring and going to different places, And I always, like, as much as, the freedom fighters are a cool concept, I always felt like they limit him because they gave him, like, a home base
That is
to
true.
sort of come home to.
I would not be feeling like that if they don't include the freedom fighters, that they can't, or they just don't want to. I would not feel like anything significant is going to be lost. Not saying I hate them. I actually love the idea of the freedom fighters, but I totally get what Yoto is talking about.
Yeah, I agree as well. And for me, if there's anything to be lost from the freedom fighters not returning, it's wasted potential. But I'm not gonna take to the streets and start with picket signs and saying bring the freedom fighters back. But I think Yoto is right in that they kind of having a freedom fighter base to where, okay, we need to discuss how we're going to take down Eggman. I don't like Sonic being limited to a group, as Yoto said. Yeah. I think they would do a lot better with this character if they kept him a free spirit. And also, I want to read these comments from the editor, the licensing specialist at Sega, and Ian Flynn himself. Okay, so Michael Cisneros, licensing specialist at Sega of America, said, "When we partnered with IDW a couple months back, Ian was undoubtedly our first choice to take the helm and scribe the new comic series. His uncanny knack for capturing the spirit of Sonic is evident not only in his work, but in the hearts of our very vocal and devoted fan base. We couldn't be more pleased to have him setting the stage for many years of compelling storytelling." So, what does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that, I think Ian's sort of the obvious choice because people know him, first of all, and people like him, which is...
People trust him.
Yeah, people trust him. So,
Ian has a lot of practice rebooting this universe, so we just took his fault and decided to use it.
I think it's I think they kind of nailed it on the head, saying how Ian has a knack for writing in kind of the ideal tone for a Sonic story. Not to mention that, I feel like Ian should be given another chance after his only attempts at writing for the comic ended up with it getting rebooted due to unfortunate circumstances.
Exactly, and then cancelled. As much as I like to, as much as I sometimes rag on Ian and sometimes I just treat him with general indifference, I will say this: he is decent. He does get Sonic, at least, and he does get certain elements of Sonic very well, and he does sort of understand the idea that he is writing a comic for fans, which is always a good thing, and he's not trying to make it into his own sort of personal project, which is, again, a real problem with Sonic series, as a whole. Obviously with Satam and Ben Hurst, and the comic with Ken Penders. So that's a good thing, I will say, and I think he's not my... I would have preferred him if he was sort of working as as part of a team with a brand new writer who had the same sort of vision. But then again, maybe that new writer would try and force his own sort of personal ideas into Sonic the Hedgehog's storytelling, which may not be as cool, or may not just be as good, I'd say.
Well, this also tells us a little bit of what Sega of America thinks of Ian Flynn in general, because if they made that comment about him and he was their first choice, what are the chances that if American writers start working on the Sega games that he'll be chosen? Well,
I think he did do some writing for Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal. Shattered Crystals.
He did a tie-in comic for Shattered Crystal, and he did a couple episodes of Sonic Boom.
Well, I think the answer is it's certainly more likely. However, Sega of Japan, I think, still has the overall power of the storyline. Although they may just get him to come in and just do write the jokes, write all the little dialogues and details, and Sega of Japan themselves will write down the main overarching story, which is what happens with Sonic Colors and the other games. Sorry, I just sort of lost my train of thought there. Just one final thing: we know that Tyson Hess, who's one of the favourite artists in terms of the fandom, goes. Sorry, that was phrased really weirdly. Yeah, Tyson Hess will be doing the cover for the first issue, and it looks really good. I think most people would agree. It's got all your favourites: Sonic, Red Sonic, Pink Sonic, and Yellow Sonic on the front. And
I was going to say something that caught me immediately about Tyson Hess's cover is that the way he draws Sonic, it has this very interesting sort of adventure, advanced games mixed with his super spiky classic sort of design.
Yeah,
Sonic feels very sharp, but he feels more proportional to how he did around the era of Sonic X, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Advance, those games where Sonic was kind of short, but taller than he was as a classic.
Well, it's a bit like modern Sonic in Sonic Lost World, where he actually looked, for all your faults Sonic Lost World had, he actually did have a good sort of proportional size. He didn't look too lanky, but he didn't look like he was a small little doughball like
I wouldn't say that Lost World Sonic's design is too different from Generations, but I think it's the way that he moved made it feel a lot different.
Well, I will say I love how Tyson. This is the stupidest thing for any Sonic fan to complain about, but I will say that I love how Tyson Hess tackles the whole green eyes thing. Because if you look at it, it's handled in a very subtle way and a very believable way, to where it's not just a huge splash of color where it's the first thing you notice. It's more of a subdued sort of green instead of a very bright-ish green, which is what every modern Sonic design uses ever since the Yuakawa days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really notice that, actually.
Look at that again.
Yeah. I think that's about it, really, unless there's anything else on the
I haven't seen the picture. I'm not looking at it right now, but did he do that for all the characters or just Sonic?
Well, you can't see the real eye color for the other characters since they're in mostly silhouette and they're all their own color. But he does the same sort of eye thing for them.
Yeah, it's almost like a snake size, actually, in some ways. It's very thin.
But I like it because it harkens back to that. Because when you look at classic Sonic, his black eyes, or his black pupils, are very thin on the classic design as well. Oh, yeah. So it harkens back to that, but it adds that green in a very nice way. I don't know.
You're right.
Yeah, but one thing I want to point out is that if this is the first issue, we're already seeing all 4 main characters on the front cover.
That's sort of a given, really.
Well, okay, but does that mean that that's what issue number 1 is going to start off with? Is it going to start in the modern day, or is it not rebooting the continuity? Is it not going to, explain how these characters first met or anything? It's not going to adapt any of the games.
Is the image we've seen actually the first cover, the first issue's cover, or is it just a promo piece as a handout?
Yeah, it's the first issue's cover.
It's the cover? I thought it was the promo.
No, I believe they did actually confirm it was during the panel.
Well, they'll probably have multiple covers, won't they? I'm sure they will.
Oh yeah, definitely, there will be.
Oh yeah, issue 1's gonna have 10 covers, man. I'm gonna buy them all.
But I mean, I judge a book by its cover, as they say. But it's that. Well, don't judge a book by its covers. That's really what I was meant to say. I think when you've, if they are going to do Sonic Origins, so to speak, if they've said that we're not going to adapt the games, then I'm pretty sure we're not really going to be seeing any sort of Sonic origin stories. Well, because it sort of assumes that we know who these characters are because you've bought this comic. Although I know what Yoto said earlier about somebody has to see Sonic's origin stories, we may see a few panels where they explain it in flashback or make passing reference to it. We don't know yet, but it's that sort of. I think it's fairly safe to assume that we're going to see Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and Amy in the first issue, or at least in the first story arc, because they're your big selling points.
Here we are, all living together in this one house we own with none of our parents.
That's something I was gonna say about I feel like the way they're probably going to handle, or at least in my opinion, they should handle it, is have it so that what's it called? So have it so that the first, chapter or whatever is sort of just an adventure, kind of like weird enough to like draw reference to this, but kind of like how Sonic X's first scene. It's it's not like telling you, oh, this is Sonic. It's literally just Sonic in the middle ending of like an adventure, and like everyone's there helping him out. And it's like you don't really
like they all know each other. They all been through adventures, not meeting each other for the first time or anything like that.
And
so you mean issue 1 isn't going to start with, "Hey, long time no see"?
I was going to say like
Green Hill.
You know what? I
kind of even think like the beginning of Sonic Unleashed, which is just sort of like the end of an adventure. So like if you've never played Sonic, like if you've never played a Sonic game before, you might not know like the context of everything that's going on, but you'll be able to understand like, oh, Sonic is destroying this guy's stuff. This guy must be the villain. Oh, Sonic can move super fast. That's all you really need to know.
I mean,
just have like Knuckles punch someone, have Amy hit someone with a hammer, Tails fly people. He's in like a plane, and he's like, by my calculations, the thing should be over there. And you'd be like, okay, I get it. Tails is the smart one. Knuckles is super strong. Amy is the girl.
Don't make Tails Jimmy Neutron, please don't.
Look, Tails is Jimmy Neutron now. But I mean, I said Fly. I mean, he's still going to be helping out. He's just going to also,
an engineer,
be the
you have
smart
to
one.
be pretty smart. But the point is though, is that I think this is actually going back to the whole sort of Sonic having an origin story, not having an origin story, is that you're right. With every sort of Sonic game, Sonic is just there, and that he's the hero, and
like Green Hill, as far as we're concerned, is like Sonic's origin story. He just sees Eggman making bad stuff, and he's like, "I'm gonna break that," and then he does. And I'm like, that's all you need to understand who Sonic is and what he does.
Yeah, it's a self-explanatory sort of thing.
I mean, I guess, but
the only sort of characters who require explanation really are the other characters like Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. And actually, they do sort of get origin stories. I mean, Knuckles, we know, is the guardian of the Angel Island. We don't know, like, much more than that, but we know that that's his role. We know that Tails is a fanboy of Sonic's who followed him around and became his friend. We know that Amy is a fangirl of Sonic's who followed him around and became his friend. So
it's something I never really, like, noticed until, like, way later. I'm like, Tails and Amy are basically the same character. Tails is just smart. Like, if Tails was a girl, he would just be Amy. He'd just be a really smart Amy.
Well, I want to read Ian Flynn's comments on the whole situation, because it's kind of cute.
Okay.
I've been a Sega kid for life, and Sonic has been my career for over a decade. I'm overjoyed to keep running with the Little Blue Hedgehog, and especially excited to be expanding my relationship with IDW at the same time. I can't wait to show you what I'm made of as we reach for the stars and explore the endless possibilities.
How dare you? I love you, Ian.
Oh, I felt the cheese.
See, that's why he's the perfect writer, because he does stuff like that.
I don't know. I think that's a bit cringeworthy.
I mean, yeah, exactly. He's a Sonic fan.
You know what? You got me there.
One thing I'm looking forward to, out of all of this is, because we're starting from number 1, that means that I can finally have the opportunity to own all the Sonic comic issues from issue 1 to the latest, and that gets me excited.
Also makes me excited because I can start my Archie comic dubs fresh with IDW instead of relying on Archie with its cancelled art.
And it also means that I might even start, having a Sonic comic collection, which is. I love comics and I like Sonic, but I've not been a big fan of the Archie Sonic comics.
They don't really do the trade thing at Archie, as well as IDW does. Also, you should be excited, fattoler, because you might see Catella in this series.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Well, along with all these, and not just Katana, I mean, just we may see AOSTH or Sonic Underground or Sonic Satam even, or Sonic Satam Season 3 stuff, like, as mini-series, which will be kind of fun.
Just wait till IDW runs Sonicverse and they all cross over and we get, like, that Spider-Verse event where they murder off all the amazing friends and stuff. That'll be fun.
By the way, IDW, I write comics. Well, I've been writing a comic script now, so you want to ring me? I know my ASTH stuff. I've interviewed the writers of the show.
Really?
Yeah, I've spoken.
That's super cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Kent Butterworth and Robbie London, and
what are they up to nowadays?
Well, some of them working in the industry. I think a couple have gone off to work as university lecturers. One of the guys who does the Pierre's de Selles, he's still doing animation stuff. Kent Butterworth actually worked on the animation timing for the Willy Wonka and the Tom and Jerry crossover.
Poor guy.
Hilarious. But yeah, you know what? Here's a really good story. Kent Butterworth was what used to work on Mighty
That's the best name ever.
Well, he was an animation director on Ralph Bakski's Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures. And one day Ralph put his false teeth into a food wrapper and it got thrown into the trash. And then some executive producer came along and they wanted to see Ralph, but obviously he didn't have his false teeth. So Kent Butterworth dived into the dumpster and was digging around, and he's like, hey, I got them. Throws them to this guy, and they run off to Ralph, and it's everything's fine. But just the idea that Kent Butterworth was once dumpster diving before Ralph Bakshi is just great.
I just the way you say that, it almost sounds like it's something like a fan would be like, I can't believe I'm dumpster diving for my hero, Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, but it's great. And actually, he did an independent animated film, some really weird, Attila and
Butterworth did.
What?
Butterworth did.
Yeah, he did. He worked with Milton Knight and a few others, and he did Attila and the Blue Bean or something. It really,
I think we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, we're getting off topic. I think we shall now wrap up and say goodbye. So. Thank you all for joining us. Hopefully I'll have this episode edited up tomorrow. An hour and a half, although we'll cut out a couple of bits of that. Anyway, so from me and from everybody else here, it is good night. I was fattoler. We had Chauvel.
Good night.
Definitive Dubs.
Ryan Drummond was the best Sonic.
Okay. Garaco.
Good morning or good night, depending when you're listening to this.
Mm-hmm. Rick?
I'm sharpening my portfolio, IDW. I'm coming for you.
Wish you the best of luck with that, certainly. Actually, this is the time now, artists. If you're thinking of doing a Sonic comic, get those portfolios done. And Yoto.
I'm just looking forward to seeing all sorts of new art. I really hope Tyson Hess does come back for a full issue.
Yeah,
It's heavily hinted he might be.
Anyway, good night.